If you have a date field, then of course the operators will be different. It's like apple to oranges. Does not happen. Whatever the comparison Workday supports for this field could be here, and you will see more than what it is needed at least. Not at least, which is minimum needed, but it could be more than what you need for this field. But this list will change on the type of field that you are comparing to. So I want to compare it with a list of company hierarchies, for which I am allowing the workers to be part of. Other than that I just want to exclude their population. So it is a multi-instance field, and if you want to compare it to a list, you will choose any in the selection list. Or if you want to build your condition other way around, let's say you have 20 company hierarchies, and out of those 20 company hierarchies you want 8 company hierarchies for which the people should be there as part of the output. So, rather than mentioning those 8 company hierarchies, you can make it a reversible kind of condition where you can say none, wherein you will only mention those 2 hierarchies. Which you don't want to include, actually, but that will totally depend on your requirement wherein you have been given. Okay, that only these two. These 2 conditions should not meet. Rest, every condition. If a worker is belonging to, they should meet. So that will depend on what the requirement is. So you need to build it in a way so that it is scalable in future. So now you are being given a list of 8 company hierarchies for which the people should only be in the output. But tomorrow, let's say, if a new company hierarchy is getting added, then every time what you will have to do, either you have to come to this report, edit it, and then add it to your selection list, because those people will not, by default, will be added, because you have a fixed list of those 8 company hierarchies, and if new workers are coming in a new company hierarchy, they will not be part of it. So either you can build a none so that you know that only these 2 company hierarchies will, these people I never want to include, but any people getting added to the existing company hierarchies should still be part of my output, or if a new company is added which is not part of this selection list which I am going to, they will still be included in the output. So I'll say any. So if I say any in the selection list, then whatever I am going to make it as a comparison here. Those list, it will be compared. It will be seen, okay, that if the worker belongs to any of these, it will be part of the. They will be satisfying the output. Now in here, you are choosing the operator in the next option. You are doing a comparison type that. How do you want to compare? So the first option by default, which is coming in value specified in the filter. That means whatever you are specifying in the filter here, your worker's company hierarchy will be compared to that value. And you will have a allowed list of the particular work. What they will do, will that company hierarchy? So now, what would they will allow you to do here? Whatever the company hierarchies are specified in the tenant, you will be allowed here from those list. So if I just go, maybe I have chosen a wrong field. I'm not sorry if there is any company hierarchy even set up in here. I think we will have someone at some things at least. But there is a lot of junk in here. So this, if there is a lot of bigger list in here, then you will have to go by this, by selecting, going to the object company hierarchy, and then going by the name, and then keep selecting whatever you want to select. So these will be the company hierarchies which are defined in your work detainment, and you will be doing a comparison like this. You can also select more than one value. Go to somewhere else. Find the other company hierarchy. So this way, whatever is allowed in, do you want to be allowed in your list? You can do that. If you don't want to do this, selecting from filter. So this, you can also choose this condition where what is his value from another field. So what it actually means is, It is like a comparison you are doing from another field, so this could be again. This could be a calculation which can exist. This could be another, a sum of two values, or could be any calculation that you want to do. So instead of directly comparing the values, so here you will not be comparing the values. You will actually be comparing it to a condition or somewhere. Or a calculation. So output of that calculation will be compared to the company hierarchy. So output of that calculation. So let's say I am building a filter on our date. So I am comparing date to date only. So whatever I am doing, value from another field. So the data type of this field and the output of this should be same. So the output of this will be calculated around dynamically at runtime, and then it will be compared with this that the company hierarchy. So this will result the company hierarchy for the worker, and it will be compared to this. So this value should always be giving you the value which can resemble to this or does not resemble, but it should be part of the apple to apple, not apple to oranges. So this value, you will, can do this on a date field. I'll tell you. So this will dynamically compare it to that conditional logic and then see at what moment, instead of directly hard coding, comparing at that moment of calculation. It will be understood and checked that what is the output coming from this particular condition or field. Then it will be compared to your condition. So this is your value from another field option. Now, these two options which you see, other than this is prompt and prompt. So these are the prompt options. It is nothing. But instead of comparing and placing the value in the comparison, you are now leaving it up to the user, so that whenever the report is running in, the user will now be so. We'll discuss how these two are different. But basically, first thing, these two are prompts only, and at both the options user will be prompted to enter the value and whatever the entered value use whatever the user value enters at that moment of time when the report is run. The company hierarchies will be compared then, and if the entered company hierarchy by the user is matching with the worker's company hierarchy, then you will have that worker in the output, otherwise not. So both of these two are prompt options, and this is our second way of when your prompts can be generated. First, we discussed from the built-in data source. Now, the second prompts that a report can have is from your filters. So the first option from the user for the value and the section option is from the user for the value, and ignore the filter condition if the value is blank. So in the first case, from the user for the value, you are actually asking the user to enter the value. So if the user enter the value, it's fine. But if the user does not enter any value, then it will be kind of considered that okay, your user does not have entered any value. So the report will not give the accurate output because the second option, if you see here what it says, is from the user for the value and ignore the filter condition if the value is blank. That means this option is more flexible in nature, wherein you are asking the user to enter the value, but in case the user does not want to enter the value, then Workday will completely ignore this entire condition. So it will understand, as if there is no filter row. So Workday will completely remove or omit this condition. So if you only have one condition in your filter, that means, if the user does not enter any prompt value for comparison, your entire company hierarchy condition will be removed and all the workers which are satisfying your data source criteria will be there as part of the output. So this gives the user with the flexibility that if they don't enter anything, it will be ignoring this completely filter condition, but both values will allow the user to get prompted and enter any value in the system. Now, This is your comparison type when you are using the prompt, and here in the comparison value, you will see the comparison as default. Prompt by default. If you are doing any prompt, we'll keep it as default prompt. And when you go to the prompt step, so you see only 3 are there from the data source side. So, if you want to, let's check one thing now which we were testing before. Let me just click OK now. I think Workday has changed something. If I just click it here, my prompt is here, so it used to come. Actually, we entered the filter, and instead of comparing here itself, we have allowed it to make it from a prompt perspective. So in your example that day, you were saying that I was requested with a report wherein a manager can enter their organization name and, based on that, they can run this report. So if you want to make that report scalable and flexible enough so that every manager can query that report and every manager can just enter their organization name and, based on that, whoever is part of their organization and even subordinates that say, a CEO wants to run for his organization, so CEO and all his subordinates should be part of the output. Then you are just sharing that report to all the managers and then whoever runs it and they can just enter their org's name. So now, in that case, instead of entering or hard-coding a particular org and then creating hundreds of reports for hundreds of managers, you can create a single report by giving an organization prompt like this, and then prompting the user and probably choosing this option. If they are entering their organization, they will be given the output of their organization. If they are not prompting, then they will be given the output of all the organizations that exist in Workday. So, in these cases, you will allow the report to have more flexible in nature, wherein this can be accessible by all the managers. Whatever the input at the runtime, they will be given that particular output. So you have enabled your prompts. Here and again same thing. I will not repeat again and again, default, no default, specify default. You can do. So, and again, you can control required, non-required, these things. So this is where you can define your filters like this. You can keep adding more rows, as many filters as you want, and you see if here, by default it is, and you can choose and or so if you want to make a mix of conditions. I hope you are already aware about and then, or so it's like 0, 1. So if you are using and ends, then that means that both the conditions have to be true. If you're talking about a worker, then both the conditions has to be true for a worker to be satisfied. If I just make it or and write a condition here, then if a worker is satisfying this condition he will be part of the output, or if he is not satisfying this condition, then whatever the condition is below in or condition. So either ways, whatever condition he satisfies, he should be part of the output, either this or this. If he's not satisfying this, then it will be checked. Or is he satisfying this? So it's like and then you have the option of using the brackets. In Workday. So let's say you have a or condition here and I keep it a bracket here. And then if I say that, to cause center.